Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah. I'm with the Midwest Writing Center, and today we're going to talk about chapbooks. I want to give a quick, I don't know, disclaimer here at the beginning. I am under the weather, so I'm going to do a lot of pausing for water, and the video is going to be probably about 10-15 minutes shorter than it normally would be. Um, With that in mind, if you are new to the Write More Light web series, what you can expect on the days in which I do not interview someone else is I'll talk for a little while about the topic of the day, and then I will give updates from the Midwest Writing Center and then a writing prompt. Every once in a while, either the video goes really, really long or the topic is not super mm, easy to make a prompt out of. And I'll skip the prompt. I apologize for when and if that happens. It's not gonna happen today. Um, so today we're talking about chapbooks. The Midwest Writing Center publishes a chapbook series each year called the Foster Stall Chapbook Series. It was named for two people who were really important to the Midwest Writing Center's inception and growth. We're going on 40 years this year, which is exceptional for a nonprofit to be incorporated that long. We're really excited. This chapbook series is not that old, but because we've got this chapbook series we're accepting submissions for, I wanted to talk about what chapbooks are. We talk about them a lot in the literary arts world, and I feel like we just sort of assume that people know what they are. And I know the first time, shoot, the first 20 times I heard about chapbooks, I just pretended to know what was going on. So I don't want other people to feel that way. So, so that none of us have to play along. I've made a handy dandy little carousel that I post occasionally on our socials. I'm going to present that to you right now, but I'm also going to show you some examples of chapbooks that I really love. This is not all the chapbooks in the world. This is not all the chapbooks I own. Some are conspicuously missing, and I'm not happy about that. Um, yeah. So first we'll look over um, that carousel that I made. And that's gonna take me just a moment. Okay, here we go. I know this is not the most I don't know, fancy way of sharing, but what is a chapbook? Chapbooks are super short collections of writing. Uh, I think that this is in the next slide. I'm not going to add any information till we move through it. Usually they're poetry. They do not have to be, especially at MWC. We don't care what genre your work is. We just want good work. A chapbook series will publish multiple authors in separate books. So usually each year, sometimes there are two selections in a year. It depends really on the publication. It depends on the submissions. But a chapbook series is going to be one publisher and then a different book. So probably never going to publish the same author multiple times, but like they could. They very well could. They're usually published by smaller independent presses. I don't know of any major presses that have chapbook series, but they may exist. Um, yeah, so it's usually indie presses. It's often contests. Ours is not a contest. Those are very different things. Ours is a series that has selections. They have small print runs so that you're not going to see them at every store. You're going to see them at the stores probably near wherever the press is located. So with the Midwest Writing Center, we make sure that we get our chapbooks in local bookstores and even just like local, like hyper local stores that sell things, but made by local people or local orgs or whatever. But you're not going to see them at Barnes and Noble or, whatever. Um, it's possible, of course, that the author or the publisher will put them up at for sale on, different websites, depending on the author and the publisher. They could be on Bookshop or other major online retailers, but usually you're going to buy them from the press itself, which is awesome because we want small presses to stay alive. Chapbook authors should receive copies of their books. They will probably also receive a small amount of money for their publication. Chapbooks are, I already said this, often published after contests, but not always. Um, the difference is in, in the language. Um, Having a chapbook series does not mean having chapbook contests. The way that books are selected and finalists are selected for contests versus series are different, and the way that publication works surrounding contests and series are different as well. Okay. Well, from the beginning, I wanted to add something between these two. Okay. So there's super short collections of writing. They usually have a theme. That is a slide that I really expected I would see. There's usually a theme for chapbooks. Not the series won't have a theme, but the book itself will. So, I'll share this pile of chapbooks that I have here. You can see quite a few, all very small. Um, Here's one, I think. Okay. Where the Wind Bends Backward by Aaron Bertram and Ryan Collins. These are to and from locations. So, from location to location. And it's by two authors. So the theme is, and theme can be pretty loose. The theme is, this is location based. These are locations speaking and interacting. Field Notes, this is an MWC Press Foster Stall Chapbook Series selection. Field Notes recovered from the expedition to Devil's Peak. This is fake found poetry. This is such a special book to me because it's so unique. About field notes that are recovered from an expedition by other people who are following this expedition. So the theme here is, what is lost, what is found, the expedition itself. There's a narrative here, but a lot of the narrative is something the reader puts together. I'll go for another Foster Stall here. Published the same year as Field Notes Esquire by Aubrey Ryan. These are, I think, mostly Greek myths, but classic myths, classic stories retold with a feminist slant. This is poetry. So the themes can be loose, but there's always sort of an expectation of a theme. It doesn't have to be really in your face at all, but just so that the collection makes sense, right? So that the collection is a cohesive unit. It's not, if you think of music, right? It's an album rather than a bunch of singles. I'm gonna say Midwest Writing Center always does. See if I can find them. Okay. Perfect bound, so they look on the spine just like these are two of the same book. Like pretty regular books that you'll find in a store, except that they're tiny. That one's thicker than the others. Yep. Right there, teensy tiny. So that's another thing. They're super short. I'd say between 30 and 60 pages. 60 seems a little big. 60 is getting into full length territory for a poetry book. But they're also like short. I don't have a regular size book near me. Here's one. This is from Final Thursday Press by Jason Bradford. It's here. I have a hand. It's, I can hold it in one hand. Here's a Tate Lewis Carroll saddle staple. It's, I was gonna say colorful, but it just has one color page. Here's another Tate Lewis Carroll. I like Tate Lewis Carroll. They've been on the show before, but like it's very beautiful. It's very it's not quite DIY, but like you can see that hands made these books. This is by Outspoken Bean. There's a lot of illustrations. I think when you get, oh, that's my inscription. When you get more DIY, you go into zine territory. I don't really want to talk about the difference between zines and chapbooks. I think that's more complicated. Oh, this is not a saddle staple, but um, this is a gorgeous one. This is another Ryan Collins. Um, yeah, they are smaller. Here's Alec Hirschman, who was published by the Midwest Writing Center. Oh, that book's not here either. That's weird. Um, he wrote For a Second in the Dark, which is published by MWC Press. This is another one of his chapbooks. It's called Permanent and Wonderful Storage. I couldn't find any of the like sort of weirder looking chapbooks that I have, which is interesting. I wonder if I like put them all somewhere. But yeah, so when you're going for a chapbook series or reading a chapbook, um, they're not going to be the books closest to me or not. The book closest to me is a really weird shape and size. So it's a poor example as well. Um, they're not going to look like, a trade paperback. They're going to be a little arty. They're going to be very small. And what I think is really special about chapbooks is you can put that time either as the writer or the publisher or someone involved with the production, you can put a lot more time and not effort, not energy, but creativity into the publication to make sure that it has all the spirit and moodiness that it deserves. And you can do that with full-length publications too. But because chapbooks are such small runs traditionally, and more or less bespoke, bespoke like custom, like not perfectly custom, but um, they do kind of get more attention and that's really special. So, if you're trying to like make your name and get famous on a chapbook, like you've been ill-advised. But if you have a really special small collection and you want it to have a home that has a lot of care put into it, a chapbook is a really wonderful way to go for that. And okay, some other things about chapbooks are you can expect them to have some pretty strict guidelines. And as with any publication, you'll want to read those guidelines really carefully. Make sure that you follow the guidelines, follow all of the rules for publication, or likely your work will not be reviewed. It's really a lot of work to go through all the submissions. And if somebody doesn't follow the instructions, it feels a little disrespectful. So make sure you read all of those guidelines. They're going to be different. If you're sending out your chapbook to 4 places, the guidelines for each of those places are going to be different. Your manuscript will probably be the same, but maybe it's formatting or the place they want you to put your acknowledgments will be different. Just make sure you read those um, submission guidelines. Another thing is there will probably be some sort of cost for submission. Not necessarily, not always, but it should be low, and that's something to look out for anytime you're doing submissions. Sometimes there are really high costs for submissions, and you need to have a limit for yourself for what is an acceptable cost and what that looks like for you. For the Midwest Writing Center, the cost to submit a to our chapbook series is the purchase of a chapbook. Personally, I think that's a really good way to go, because by reading from the chapbook series, you don't know a little better what we publish, what we're looking for in a publication. That matters a lot to the publishers. Because if it's a bad fit, like they're gonna know, but also they're gonna wonder why you submitted to them. So, yeah, to make sure to really read those guidelines. Make sure that whatever the cost is for submitting is makes sense for your life and your writing and your lifestyle. And make sure that you at least know the press a little bit. If you're familiar with the press, you're more likely to know whether or not your writing matches with what they're putting out, and that's a big deal. Um, so those are the basic what is a chapbook pieces of information. Again, it can be any genre. Most of the time people think of poetry, but I mean you'll have to look at each press for what they're looking for. I can say for sure the Midwest Writing Center is not we don't have a genre preference. Most of our history of publication with the Foster Stall chapbook series has been poetry. We're putting out an essay collection this year. We're putting out two books for the Foster Stall chapbook series this year. One is poetry, one is essays. Um, those will come out at the Spectra Reading Series I was going to say September, on March 15th. That's going to be really, really, really fun. Um, but yeah, so reading those guidelines is going to be really important. And yeah, making sure it's short is a big deal as well. Some places may say up to 60 pages, but I think like 80 pages is a full-length poetry book, so 60 pages might be super long. And yeah, if you've got questions, if you want to know more about chapbooks, you want to know more about the Foster Stall chapbook series, then, you know, drop us a line. Also, Menards, do you want to sponsor this art series? I hope I'm allowed to say that. That could be really inappropriate, I suppose. This is my mug for my tea. Yeah, so I'm gonna move into, I hope this was good information. I'm gonna move into updates from the Midwest Writing Center. Today is Tuesday, February 11th. We have our online youth writing workshop. That's for teens who want to share their writing and do some writing activities with their peers without, having to explain themselves or be in company with folks who are outside their age range. Um, on Thursday, Spectre Reading Series is back with a open mic. It is our annual local lovers event, which is a twist on Valentine's Day. It is not romantic. It is a good time. We want anybody to show up with whatever it is that they can or have to perform. That's at Rostalks, 8 p.m. on Thursday. Um, Next week on Tuesday is the in-person Young Writers Workshop. That's at the Midwest Writing Center, which is ground floor of the Rock Island Public Library downtown branch. We will also be hanging out at the Ballet Quad Cities Love Stories events on February 22nd and 23rd. We'll be writing love letters. You give us a donation, we will write a love letter for whoever it is that you would like to have a love letter written for. And coming up March 1st, which is very soon, it is much sooner than you think, I imagine. We are starting a 4-week fiction workshop in which each week will focus on a different element of fiction writing. It's taught by Jason Tanamore, who's written several genres, several age groups of novels, and you can take all four. You get a discount for taking all four, and you can take just one or just two or just three if the subjects interest you differently. So yeah, that's what to expect in the next couple of weeks at the Midwest Writing Center. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Now, for today's writing prompt, I want you to set 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you've got to spare. 10 minutes is a lot less than it sounds like, but 15 can often be a lot, like just a lot. So set a timer for yourself, sit yourself down, and whatever comes is whatever comes. It can be poetry, it can be a journal, it can be a short story, an essay, whatever it is, a list. Lists are my favorite, especially when I'm working on a prompt. And find for yourself a theme that could, does not have to. We don't have to be strict about anything. This is a prompt. The idea is to get yourself writing a theme that could define your day, or someone else's day, or any day. Um, so a way that I would go about that is to say, okay, well, wake up to an alarm, and then an alarm tells me to leave for work, and then an alarm tells me to take meds, right? So maybe alarms are a theme, or feeding myself is a theme, right? Like it doesn't have to be strict. So set 5-10 minutes on a timer and do a free write. As always, thanks for hanging out with me, and please write more light into your life.